One day when X happens, then things will be different. Things will be better. But instead I realized I was driving so hard for that dream that I could never take time off to rest and actually enjoy the dream I was trying to create. But then something happened that changed my perspective in my life forever. And it ended up changing what I believe about money, about work, about business, about faith, even my relationship to all of those things. And it started off with something pretty innocent. I started my business because I wanted financial freedom. I wanted freedom with my time. I wanted freedom to live a different story than what my family and I were currently experiencing. But I distinctly remember the moment when I realized I was actually just a slave to my business. My business owned me, not the other way around. I'm driving down Houston Road in Florence, Kentucky. I'm listening to an audiobook called Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller because I like learning about how to run a business and how to work more productively and accomplish more with less time, just like most of us do. And I had a very eye-opening realization during one of the chapters in that book that changed everything for me and the trajectory of my business and my family and me personally. And it comes down to something that's very counterintuitive, but is essential if we want to actually experience the freedom that we want from our business and our life and the things that we're pursuing, as opposed to feeling trapped by them and feeling stuck and like we're not making any progress forward. So in this episode, what I want to do is I want to dive into that with you, especially as you're going into 2024. What does it look like for you to have a framework of how you think about your work as an integrated part of your life and your business being a part of that rather than your business serving you? You get to be in control of the business rather than it just kind of being in control of your time and your attention. So sometimes our businesses can take away from what we're actually passionate about. And I don't want that to be true for any of us because I know what that feels like. That was true for me. I know most of us, we started a business because we're passionate about something. We love something and it becomes part of our mission. It becomes part of who we are. Like, I really want to see this thing different in other people's lives, or I really want this product to change their world in this way or something. And we pursue that mission, especially in a creator economy business, so that we can also experience freedom and extra income and experience something bigger for ourselves and for our families. But soon we end up sacrificing ourselves and our family for the sake of the business. And instead of experiencing the joy and the mission that we're tackling, we end up feeling stuck and stressed, and we end up having a business that owns us instead of us owning the business. We end up owning a job instead of the freedom that we wish this business was bringing us. Why? How does that happen? That's what I want to dive in here to today. I have a little bit about my story, my own experience with this, and I think will hopefully unlock some of this for you guys here today. I went to Bible college and seminary because part of what I really wanted was to impact people's lives, and I thought one of the best ways to do that would be to go into full-time ministry. So Bible college and seminary is just graduate school for people who are going into full-time ministry. And I worked at a church. My first job, I was making $14,600 a year. I don't know why I said yes to that salary. You can't live on that, but I did. And at that time, my mentality was like, just doing this for Jesus, and I'm doing this for people, and I'm not making much, but that's okay. And people are like, heck yeah, you're not making much. I got married on that salary, you can't support a family on $14,600 a year. But that's what I felt like in order for me to fulfill what I really love, what I'm passionate about, of serving people and helping them and changing their lives. That's just what I'm going to have to do. And I just assumed that for the rest of my life, I was going to make very little money. And it was okay. I kind of took that as a badge of honor. In fact, not only was that a badge of honor, but my view of business people at that time was that their primary goal is to extract value from people. Like they are some sort of monster, their job was to take money from people. And the more money you figure out how to take someone, the more conniving you must be. And I hate to admit that now, looking back But I just kind of saw them like business people as a necessary part of my work, because I needed people like them to go make money and then donate it to nonprofits like the one I was working in, so that we could fulfill our actual good mission of reaching people and changing lives. And I needed those donations to be coming in so it could fund my salary and also the work that we were doing. But then something happened that changed my perspective in my life forever. And it ended up changing what I believe about money, about work, about business, about faith, even my relationship to all of those things. And it started off with something pretty innocent. I uploaded a video to YouTube on March 2nd, 2006, my very first video. And I was just trying to introduce my family back home across the country to this girl I was dating. We started making videos together, putting them online, going out to movies, going out to the park, going out to eat, whatever. We would know them as vlogs today, but back then that wasn't a word. And all the way up to our engagement. And around that time, we had like 1 million people a month watching, which was unheard of. And we were like, where the heck are these people coming from? Why are they watching us? Why do they keep coming back? And people are like, Tim, do you know what, like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure it out. And so we kept going. We put our dating life on there, our engagement, our wedding, our honeymoon, our first house, and everything. And what I loved about it, it was like, I was hearing stories of life change and people being impacted, coming out as a result of these YouTube videos that we were making. I remember my aha moment, and I was like, whoa, like there's something here. It happened when I got an email from a lady from Texas. And she's like, hey, Tim, you don't know me, but I've been watching you and your now wife on YouTube for a while. And I just got married 2 months ago, and we're already struggling in our relationship, and I don't know if we're going to make it. But then I saw that video of you and your wife talking about how you're learning to love each other better. I shared that video with my husband, and we talked about it. And I just want to let you know that we have hope again now for our marriage. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And I was like, that happened as a result of that video? Like, what? And other stories of, like, I remember this lady commenting, said, hey, I've been watching you guys for a few years. I'm getting married in 2 months. I didn't grow up with a mom. She left me when I was little. But as a result of watching your videos, I think I know what it means to be a good mom and a good wife one day, thanks to your videos. I'm like, man. And I loved hearing all the other stories of people who would never walk into a church. They never talk to a pastor, but they'll watch one on YouTube, right? And I really love that. So at that time, I had moved to a church in Minnesota. I got a huge raise. I was making $50,000 a year, which is more money that I knew how to spend. And believe me, I made a lot of mistakes with it. We bought a car we didn't need with money we didn't have, but we thought we had the money. And we thought we needed the car. That's how that works. When you're just new to having money, you don't use it very wisely. And so we ended up going into debt, and then thankfully spending about 1.5 years to climb out of debt and became debt free. And thanks to Dave Ramsey, and changed a lot of our lives that way. We also, on that same season of life, had our first 2 children, Hannah and Ezekiel. And according to everything I knew, everything was going great. I had just had my annual review, 5 out of 5 stars, Tim, no room for improvement. You're killing it. You're crushing it. The youth group at that time had grown from about 20 kids coming a week to about 180 kids coming a week. And then out of nowhere, after working at that church for 5 years, I got a surprise meeting that I was supposed to clear my schedule for and come to this surprise board meeting, and was quickly fired after that, and was given 4 weeks severance, which expired on Christmas Day. And instead of celebrating that day, my wife and I were still going back and forth between grief, denial, and anger. And when most people are celebrating with friends and visiting family and opening gifts and enjoying good food, we were figuring out, how are we going to pay rent next month? And instead of buying gifts, we're like, how are we going to afford groceries? And how are we going to just make this last longer? And it was a very, very difficult time. We lost all our community. We lost a lot of things all in one day. It was a pretty traumatic event for us. And thankfully, we had 2 kids at the time. And so we were able to live on some government food assistance programs, which helped us get a lot of essentials. But that became very difficult, especially for my wife. Not because we're thankful for them, but just the way people would treat her in the checkout lines at grocery stores when she would go to check out and then bring out all these food checks. people behind her would visibly, roll their eyes and sigh and make mean comments to her and just be all frustrated and get out of line and make rude comments and go to a different line because it takes longer to process those food checks. And even the cashiers would be like, like they didn't want to deal with that too. So it just made my wife feel really embarrassed, and it was humiliating for her to hear the rude comments and people jumping out of line and talking disrespectfully to her because she was using these things, which our family needed. I started looking for another job, but that was most of those positions usually hired in the fall. And this was Christmas time, so I missed that time of year. And plus the interviewing process takes a long time to get hired. And so I did have a blog, though, that's read by a few thousand youth workers, an email list, and a growing YouTube channel. And this guy reached out to me. He's like, "Hey Tim, I keep bumping into you on the internet for your youth ministry stuff as well as your YouTube videos, and I think we should just talk. I don't know if you're looking for a job or not, but I think we got something for you." I'm like, "Actually, I am looking for a job." And so I flew out here to Cincinnati, Ohio, went back to check out the job, went back to my wife, and I was just like, job's okay. I'm going to be doing YouTube strategy for this company and a lot of their clients, but I really just think these are the type of people who need to be around right now. And so we took the job, we came out here, and after a year of being here, they're like, "Tim, we love you, you're doing great, but our company is just no longer going to be going this direction. So in 6 months from now, you're no longer going to be having a job." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, not again." But they said, "But Tim, we think you should start a business doing for other people what you've done for us and for our clients here. So take 6 months, get that thing going. We want to support you in that." And I was like, "I don't know anything about business. All I know is like ministry stuff, right?" So I had 6 months to make it my full-time income. I knew I didn't want to go back to working a job because I just lost 2 of them, and neither one of them are fun experiences. The first one was terrible. The second one was a much better experience than the first one. In fact, I'm still good friends with a lot of those guys even today. Here we are over 10 years later. But because we were debt-free, I was able to take the risk of starting a business. And I didn't really know what else to do, but I didn't want to lose another job. And I know I didn't like being an employee. I didn't like having someone tell me when I had to leave my family every day to go to work. I didn't like feeling like someone else was telling me when I got to go home to my family at the end of the day. I didn't like someone saying, "Tim, here's how much money you're going to make this year," and putting a cap on my income. I didn't like people telling me how many days I could travel with my family each year and deciding where I could live in proximity to that job. I mean, a job takes up it's like, how much money are you going to make? Where are you going to live? And how are you going to spend your time? Those are 3 very big, important factors to just hand over to an employee to manage for you, right? I didn't really want to do that anymore. I wanted freedom for all that. And so I learned what a business model was. I created my YouTube channel. And within 6 months, it was generating $10,000 a month. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is way more money than I ever thought I was going to make. Like, forget the 50K, 120K now. Like, really? I didn't even know that was possible. And so I started growing the business. I learned something very quickly. That business didn't take me away from my personal mission of wanting to change people's lives and have an impact. It actually offered an incredibly effective way of doing that I hadn't considered before. I learned that business is about value exchange, not about conniving and trying to extract value from people and take as much of their money as possible. But business revolves around solving a problem for someone. That's like saying, I get to serve you and your family by providing this service or this product that serves you in some really good way. And you are going to serve my family in exchange for that by paying for it. And the bigger challenge that you have that I can solve for you, the more you're willing to pay for it, and then becomes a win for me, and it becomes a win for my family and the customer whose family I'm also serving. But then in the case of the creator economy business, what we're doing as YouTube creators, it's a win for that creator's audience too, because now that creator, we were doing YouTube content strategy for people. So now their channels were growing and they were spreading messages and having impact that I could never have, with people I would never reach, with stories I could never tell, right? And I loved it. And so I was like, man, this is a win for me. It's a win for the creator and it's a win for their audience and other people out there. Win, win, win. Like, this is awesome. Like, where else do I get this type of exchange? I love it. And so I really love what Daniel Lapin said in his book, Thou Shalt Prosper. He talks about money as certificates of appreciation. And he says that money is not the only way, but it is a way of evaluating how well you're serving people. How many certificates of appreciation are they giving you for what you're doing? And so I was like, this is not about extracting value. This is actually a new way of providing value and getting to reach people and change their lives in ways I never thought before. So our business grew, and even with all of the noblest of intentions, the honeymoon period of my business wore off. In the beginning, I was a one-man band. If I wasn't working, nothing was moving ahead. Creators were paying me to develop growth strategies for them and their YouTube channels. And I loved doing that part. And then I learned, though, to have a good, successful business, there's a lot of other parts, that you got to do. Things that I didn't know I even had to do. Things with like taxes and remitting taxes and inventory and how to manage my time and processes and systems and all these things. It's just like, it all built up so fast, and I quickly felt overwhelmed. Instead, I made the mistake most people make in that situation, is that instead of laser focusing and cutting off the chaff, what they do instead is they just hire people. They bring on more expenses, which brings on more stress, especially when it's someone who's working for you, because now you got more overhead with communication and more things to manage and things to train and whatever, So I just like, but my mind though is like, oh, I got too much to do, and the way to solve this is to pay someone else to do it. And then that worked for a very short period of time, and then quickly my plate filled up again, and I'm like, oh shoot, okay, let me hire someone else to do that. And I just remember feeling like, oh, I thought when I hired someone, like that would fix this. But I really just became stuck again, and the business was becoming more and more bloated with management, communication, and headcount, creating even more stress and feeling even more stuck. And before long, we had 11 employees. I was working with some of the biggest names and brands on YouTube. We could take credit for over 20 freaking billion views. That's a lot of people live touched, man. On YouTube. 100 million subscribers for our clients, and soon I was working nonstop, thinking I was free, but I really wasn't. I owned a job, not a business. During this season of life, to add to the madness and craziness, my wife and I somehow managed to have 7 kids in 8 years. And the pressure at home was continuing to build, along with the pressure to support them and pay for all that as our family grew. And at first, it was easy for me as a business owner to just kind of always like dismiss the actual business problem that I was having and just kind of dismiss it by saying something like, one day when X happens, then things will be different. Things will be better. One day when I hire that person and all this is off my plate, then I'll get to relax and breathe. One day when I make X amount of money, then I'll be able to take some time to relax. Then I won't feel as stressed. One day when I finally launch this product, then I'll be able to take time to relax. One day when I finish this project, one day when I figure out how to blank, then this thing will happen. And let me tell you guys, one day turns into never. It's not a good long-term solution for growing a business. It's like one day, just solve this thing. And once that really, it's whack-a-mole is what that is. And the realization hit me along with it that solving something in my business is not the problem. Like, this will not go away when I finally get one day when. I'm the problem, not these other things, right? When I started my business, I thought I would be finally free with my time, with my schedule, with my energy, with the things I wanted to do and my income. But instead, I realized I was driving so hard for that dream that I could never take time off to rest and actually enjoy the dream I was trying to create. It was all on me to make sure everything in the business was moving forward. And if I wasn't working, it wasn't working. Everything was at a standstill. And I realized that on that road, Houston Road in Florence, Kentucky, listening to that chapter in that book, Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller, it hit me. It's like, I am not free. I have just now exchanged one master of being an employee for a new master, which is now work itself. I am enslaved to work itself. I can't say no. My mind's constantly thinking. It's constantly churning. I've always got emails to do. I've always got projects to do. And if I stop working, the business stops moving forward. And that felt scary because what would that mean for me? Like, not only just economically for our family, but am I a failure? Am I serving people really well? I got to make sure this client continues to pay next month because if I lose them, that would be a big deal. Oh my gosh, guys, the stress was just unreal. And there's one thing that changed all this for me, listening to that book. He introduced this idea of Sabbath. which is something I've known about for a long time. As a Bible college, a seminary guy in the Bible, it talks about this practice called Sabbath. It's in the Ten Commandments. It's the fourth of the Ten Commandments. It's up there with do not kill, do not commit adultery, don't steal. Like it's up there. It's up there in one of these top principles to live by, which is to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Keep it set apart from all the others. Sabbath is a day of rest, a 24-hour period where you say no to your work to prove that you're not a slave to those things, because a slave person don't get the option to say no, but a free person does. A free person can say, no, I'm not a slave to that. I am choosing to disconnect from it. And that was very, very difficult for me. And I know for me, it just started with, can I just go 24 hours without checking my work email? That was hard because my brain kept going, my mind kept churning. I'm like, well, what? And all I could think about was all the work that kept piling up in my inbox while I wasn't checking it, And so I made the excuse a few times, like, well, I would feel more restful and relaxed if I just gave in and and that was a total lie. It's not. It's the if I only then blank will happen, and that is not true. So after several years of allowing this to impact my beliefs, this really started to change how I view everything from a faith perspective, a work perspective, a business perspective, everything. It really even connected with me all the way back in the beginning of the story of Genesis 1:22, when God looked at people and he said, Adam and Eve said, be fruitful and multiply. He says he blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. Being fruitful, taking something, make it productive, multiplying the amount of impact and value something has is a blessing. God, this is like what I want you to do. That's why he created us. In this context of the story, God created Adam and Eve. He gives them a blank canvas called Eden, the garden. And he's like, fill it, multiply it, rule over it, like make it something awesome, like grow it, blossom, make it blossom into something even more amazing. And not just grow, but multiply, like exponential growth and fruitfulness, not just by addition, but by multiplication. Like that gets me excited because okay, that's what I really want, but how am I supposed to rest at the same time, right? There's another story in the Bible where it talks about doubling resources. The story talks about a master who gives the servants some resources, and he's like, hey, I'm going away on this trip. I'm going to come back, and I want to hear what you did with it when I come back. So the master leaves. The servants go about their work. The master comes back, and he's like, hey, I'm back. What'd you do? He went on this long journey. And the servants who are like, I doubled it. You gave me 2. Here's 4 back. You gave me 5. I turned it into 10. That's what the master expected. That's what pleased him and made him happy. And so here I am like, man, I don't want to be content with growing a business that just stays flat or even grows a little bit. What does it look like to grow a business that's exponentially growing? Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's in terms of revenue. Maybe it's in terms of personal development. Maybe it's in terms of freedom for my family or something. But it is creating value and creating fruitfulness on a multiplication level. I'm not content anymore just to make a living or just to own property or just do something to extract value from it. It has to generate twice as much value as then what I put into it. And so when you walk into the front door of our house, we actually have this sign up. It's like Schmoyer family. Then it has our mission at the top, and then our 6 core values of for what it means to be a Schmoyer. What is a Schmoyer family, and what are we all about? And one of them on there is called doubling resources. And so what it means to be a Schmoyer is like we manage resources that are entrusted to us with the intention of doubling their fruitfulness, making them twice as fruitful as they were before. And that's not just in business, but that's also with our property, and our land. This not revenue producing work, but our chickens. We want really good, healthy garden and food. And that's a lot of work. But you get chickens, a great system here to put in place now. You get chickens who will till the earth, the ground. They'll fertilize it. They'll clean up the garden by eating all the weeds and eating all the bugs out of it around our property. And then all we have to do is go behind them and plant some seeds and just get amazing produce out of it. And then in the fall, we put the chickens back on and they eat up all the stalks and clean it all up and get it all ready again for us in the springs. It's like, and they turn it into eggs and food for us. It's awesome. And so I love that type of system where it's like we could do all this hard work of gardening and tilling and preparing the soil, or we just buy chickens for $2.50 each and put them on there and let them do the work for us and turn it into food. It's awesome. Like I love those type of things. And so it's making our land more productive and more fruitful because we have a good system with apple trees and berries and grapes and vegetables and livestock and everything. And it works that way in business too. A good system. And I found it works that way in marriage and family and parenting, a good system. Like how do we raise, what's our discipline system for our kids that produces the results and the fruit that turn them into fully contributing mature members of society one day, right? And it's even what directs my time and attention. What do I focus on? How I invest my time. It deepens my belief in how do I restore what's broken? Whether it's brushing my daughter's hair and I am restoring order to chaos, right? Or it's helping someone spread a life-changing message on YouTube, or making our property more productive and fruitful, or relationships deepening and growing. Whatever it is, how do I make it more fruitful and multiply the fruitfulness of that? If I say like I can put time and energy into that and see and create a good system there, a good process that will produce the results we want every single time, like that's what I get excited about going to. But it's challenging because I'm also supposed to rest. Like it feels counterproductive to rest when I'm supposed to be producing more, right? And there's a lot of science and stuff behind this. It impacted me because it's from the Bible and from that book, Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller in that chapter. But here we are now, years later, and I still take a day of rest every week, and it forces me to have a proper relationship with work. It forces me to take ownership over my work instead of letting it take ownership over me. I'm not a slave to it. The work is here to serve me by giving me a sense of accomplishment and pride over what I'm doing. It serves me and my family by providing economically for us. It serves my clients by helping them become more fruitful. It helps the people my clients are serving by enabling my client to be more fruitful, right? And so this idea of taking time to rest and say, I am in charge of my work, it's not in charge of me, has also taught me that it's okay to let go of things that are no longer serving one of those parties well, whether it be me, my family, or our clients well. So I made a decision a little over a year ago now that my company, Video Creators, I was getting bored with it. At some point, I started thinking like, what's next for me with this business? Like it's not really giving me a sense of pride and accomplishment anymore. I want a new mountain to climb, but I didn't know where to find it. Like it was fruitful and it was growing, but I didn't really have a clear vision of its fruitfulness and the impact it's going to have going forward into the future and scaling that. So September 2022, I sold my company after a long series of other events to a company called vidIQ. They're a software company. It's traditionally been known for analytics and video SEO optimization and things, but we're pivoting now to being the coach for every creator. How do we build AI technology and human coaches and put them together in a way that enables people to coach people to grow their channels and reach more people and impact more lives than ever before? vidIQ has a lot of users. For some context, at Video Creators in 2021, the year prior before we were acquired, our business served 635 clients that year. In comparison, vidIQ they have 2 million weekly active users. So 635 a year versus 2 million a week, right? And can we take everything we built inside of Video Creators and scale it to build a scalable human coaching program that provides a coach for every creator, all 2 million of them, to support them along their journey, not just strategically, including strategically in their YouTube content strategy, but also them personally when they get the negative comments, when the video doesn't take off the way that they anticipated and hoped it would, when the brand deal fell through, like those moments, can we support them in those along every aspect of their creator journey? And so I love this now because Video Creators combined with vidIQ, like as an acquisition, we are now serving more creators. I don't know what the math is, but going from 635 creators a year to 2 million a week, that is like exponential multiplication on top of multiplication, right? Like that's the type of impact and fruitfulness I love seeing. It's doubling its fruitfulness by over and over and over and over again. And so when you boil down your business down to its essence here going into 2024, your business is an organization. It exists to solve a problem for someone else. It's a team of people. Maybe you have a team. Maybe you're just by yourself. Either way, like you are restoring order to someone else's chaos. You're making the world a more fruitful place, a more productive place, a more beautiful place for someone else. And that's what you're doing with your business. It's not just a job. It's a mission that's rooted into the fabric of what creates meaning and fulfillment for each of us. And I want you to keep doing that. I want you to keep reaching people and changing lives. And I really want to be a part of that with you in 2024. I've got a lot of ideas for content growing up. But I know the thing that's going to make it the most difficult for you to do that is when you become addicted to work, you become a slave to work itself, and you end up owning a job instead of owning a business, and you start feeling stuck, and you start thinking okay, when blank happens, then the thing I want will actually be true. And maybe you've done that. You got enough reps in that to know that's not going to be true. You need a different process of breaking out of that cycle. So you actually experience the freedom, the independence financially and time and for your family and everything that you actually want. You need a different process. You need to try something new. And I hope 2024 is the year for you for that. I really want to be a part of that with the content we've got coming up here. Got a whole new focus, really honing this in after a couple swings at bat on this podcast idea for you guys now called Family Centered Business, but I think it's going to be changing here again soon. But if you feel like you're stuck, or you feel like you're a slave to your work, and you don't want that to be the story for you a year from now and how that ends, I would love to work with you. I love working with creator businesses, with people who have a heart, who are just creative, people who love making stuff they like and want it to impact and change the world around a topic they're passionate about. And all this business stuff makes them want to do a big face palm. And they're like, I want to scale this. I want to grow. I can see the potential, but I'm stuck and I don't know how to move forward here. I'm in the hamster wheel of when blank happens, then I will get this thing, If that's you, I'd love to do a free coaching session with you. Honest, no strings attached, no expectation of a second session. I just want to do a free 1 hour session with you and or a half hour, depending what you need. And just hear your story and see can I help you move forward. If you go to timschmoyer.com, you can click on the apply for coaching button and just tell me a little bit about your story. There's some directions there to follow, what parts of your story I would love to hear. And I would just like to hear one, your story, and then two, can I help you with this? Is this going to be fruitful for my time and for yours if we get together for an hour? I don't want you going through 2024 stressed and feeling overworked and feeling stuck. I want you to bring focus to your business because you can. That's usually one of the big part of the problem. People get scattered very quickly, chasing. The people is very a common mistake. And I know there's a big hustle mentality out there. I'm 100% against that. I think that leads to burnout. I've experienced that personally, right? And it does not lead to fruitfulness. I also think there's a big mentality out there about you got to seize every opportunity. And that's also a lie because as this thing grows, you can't distinguish between which opportunity is an opportunity, which is a distraction. Because there are a lot of distractions that are disguised as opportunities. If you don't have a filter system for how to decide which is a distraction, which is an opportunity, you're gonna feel overwhelmed very, very quickly. And so I want to work with you, bring focus to your business for this year. I want you to develop a good system that just generates results for you in your business that predictably accomplishes the same thing over and over again without you having to be as hands-on, whether it's on your property, which I like the chickens, permaculture. Man, that is all systems with animals and livestock and with plants and stuff like that. That's fascinating too. I know you probably don't care about that. I do because I like systems like that. But I love doing that kind of thing inside of business as well. And I just want to get you working on your business instead of feeling like you're stuck working in your business. And so if that's you want to see if we can work together, see if anything fruitful can come out of a conversation with us between us. Go to timschmoyer.com, click on apply for coaching, and my personal assistant, Caitlin, will be in touch and get you set up. So guys, this is going to be an awesome year, 2024. I'm excited to really help you guys develop yourselves as creator CEOs, to really double down on the businesses that you're growing and turn them into profitable, fruitful endeavors for the foreseeable future, not only for you and not only for the people you're working with, but also for your family and for your community and the people around you who depend on you and lean on you for support. Guys, let's make this the most fruitful, profitable year of your business. So go to timschmoyer.com, apply for coaching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.